Okay. My name is Samam Stafid. The title of my talk is Building Responsible Generative AI in Python's Ecosystems. And I hereby agree to abide by Pycon APAC, Code of Conduct, and consent to be recorded and streamed. Okay.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Python APAC 2024 purpose session. Host here at Nadatul Ulama University, Yogyakarta. Our speaker for today
Yep.
is Mr. Ahmad Mustafid, who will be presenting on building responsible generative AI in Python ecosystem. Without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Ahmad Mustafid to take the stage. The time and place are yours.
Okay. Thank you, the moderator. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending these sessions. And first of all, I'm thrilled to be here with all of you today at the Python's conference, Asia Pacific 2024. And it's an honor to be part of this great Python community. And I usually use Python, and Python is a key part of my work in professional work and also in academic research. And for me, Python is not just programming language; it's a community. So when I imagine attending this Python conference as a speaker, I just realized that I will be picture of being surrounded by great developer and Python engineers. And so they sharing brilliant technical idea. So when I came to choosing this topic for this conference, I realized that this topic is not usually picked by the other speakers, but I believe it's absolutely or incredibly important for us as a tech community and also for the society as a whole. And my name is Ahmad Mustafid, and I want to talk about building responsible generative AI in Python's ecosystems. Okay, let's go to the Python's powerful ecosystems for AI and machine learning. Starting with data manipulations and analysis, we have a robust NumPy and Pandas libraries. For visualizations, tools like Matplotlib and Seaborn are popular choices. And for the machine learning, scikit-learns lead the way, and TensorFlow and also PyTorch dominate in the deep learning. And for the computer visions, OpenCV is a go-to solutions. And this Python's ecosystems is powerful, integrated, and designed to help solve real-world problems. And then let's go move on from the Python's ecosystem to the artificial intelligence. And first of all, we have artificial intelligence. It's a field in computer science that focuses on creating machines that can perform tasks by emulating human intelligence. And then we come to the machine learning, where focus on algorithms that can learn and make predictions and decisions based on the data and without being explicitly programmed. And then we go to the deep learning that focus on leveraging artificial neural network that using the multiple layers. And they try to understand or learn feature from the unstructured data, like images, audios, or videos. And finally, we arrive at generative AI. This is one of the most advancement in AI today. Unlike the traditional AI, which classify, cluster, or predict, generative AI creates new content, whether it's text, image, music, or even code. And then let's break down some of the fundamental building blocks of the generative AI and their models. First, we have a variational autoencoders. It uses the encoder-decoder architectures. The encoder compresses the input into probabilistic latent space and typically model in Gaussian distributions. And then from this latent space, variational autoencoder can generate new data points, which similar to the input by sampling from distribution and passing to the decoder network. And then this ability to sample from the latent space makes the variational autoencoder capable of generating new and similar data point with a variability. And then the loss function in here is the combination of reconstruction loss and Kullback-Leibler divergence or KL divergence, which regularize the latent space to be close to the prior distributions. And then we have the generative adversarial network. This consists of two networks. The first one is the generator or G. The G creates the fake data, and the D is a discriminator, which tries to distinguish between the fake and real data. So the two networks are used min-max loss functions, where the generator's goal is try to fool the discriminator, and the discriminator goal is try to accurately predict the fake data. And then over time, this adversarial process pushed the generator to produce highly realistic data. And then as it continuously learns and outsmart the discriminator network. And finally, we go to the transformer, the architecture behind the much of natural language processing and LLM today. And then the important things about the transformer is the attention mechanism and multi-head attentions. And what they do, unlike the other model, the transformer process the input in parallel. And then this allows the model to understand the relationship between the different parts of the sequence, regardless of their positions. And then it making them highly efficient and effective for handling language tasks and large-scale generation tasks. And we see this tree model, if we see the stable diffusion, for examples, it used the combination of variational autoencoder and, for example, in the encoding and decoding, they use the unit model and using the attention mechanism in their unit model. And then these three models, variational autoencoder, GAN, and also transformer, are examples of the basic foundations for the generative AI and enabling machines that create new content, whether it is image, a piece of music, or even text in conversations. And then now we go to the vector database and multimodal RAG. First, we have the vector database. Data is stored in high-dimensional vector embeddings. The vector is representation of the various type of data, like a text, image, sounds, or even video in mathematical representations. And this vector capture the essence of data by grouping the similar data points, and such as image of lions, and then the sounds of lions, a video of lion can close together in the vector space, a process that can be enhanced by contrastive learning. And then the contrastive learning can learn the model by bringing the similar data and pushing apart the dissimilar one. And this vector database allows us to compare the data by measuring by its distance. And this capability of the vector database is crucial for RAG system or retrieval augmented generations because it can retrieve meaningful and contextually relevant information. And next, we have multimodal RAG. And here's the thing that are getting really exciting. It's combined the retrieval systems from the external data sources and then with the generative model to provide more accurate and relevant response. And when user asks questions to create a prompt, for example, the system retrieves the related data from the vector database and feeds into large language model to generate a final response. And this approach doesn't just work with text, it can also generate image and making it incredibly powerful tools. And in a sense, multimodal RAG enable AI to go beyond its internal knowledge and pulling it relevant data from the outside world to offer richer and more context-aware response. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we have already explored the cutting edge of technology behind the generative AI. Now, let's zoom out and look at the bigger pictures. And let's shift our focus from the technology to society. And we can see the real impact of the generative AI. Okay, as AI continues to advance, its social impact is becoming more evident. and not always in positive ways. Let's take a look for these examples. We start from the deepfake. The generative AI can now generate incredibly convincing fake image and video, like the viral image of Donald Trump that being arrested. And this is the event that never took place. And we also have problem in misinformation and disinformations. It can, the generative AI or AI can accelerate the spread of both misinformation and disinformations and making it harder to distinguish between the distinguish from the fact. And we also have the copyright violations. The example is when Scarlett Johansson's voice was used without her permissions. Her voice used without her permissions, sparking the debate about our intellectual property rights about her voice. And then we also have a political campaign. For example, in Indonesia, the use of AI-generated video of Indonesian second presidents in the last political campaign. And then it raising a serious concerns about how we use generative AI in political campaigns. So we have a problem also on bias and discrimination, privacy, and also data misuse, and also more societal effect of our technology. So the question is how we build responsible generative AI. Okay, for the first thing, we can start from the planning. Before we even begin, we must anticipate potential problem and consider how our generative AI could be misused. And this proactive planning is key to mitigate risk. And then we go to the data selections. We need to choosing the right data is a critical. We need to identify and filter out the problematic data and ensuring the privacy, security, and the copyrights of uh, ensuring that privacy, security, and copyright are respected. And then we go to building generative AI. Transparency is essential. We must be open about the process and data used to create our model. And let's also think about the environmental challenge. We need to minimize the computational costs and also resources that we use. And we go to the ethical evaluations, understanding the safety, fairness, and ethical considerations in our use case help us to create appropriate evaluation metrics. And also remember that not every metric is relevant in every situation. So we need to adapting based on our use case. And then the last one, testing and monitoring. For example, using the human-computer interactions. Engaging the user in experiment is vital, making sure that safety and quality monitoring process. And while generative AI or AI might be designed to free from bias, we must to recognize that its outcome can still to lead to discriminations. So that's why we need to integrate by ethical principles. We must have a foundations when building a responsible generative AI. And by taking these steps, we can foster trust and ensure that our generative AI serve as a force for good in society. And I want to add the ethical theory. Understanding these principles is crucial as we navigate in complexity and empowering our ethical thinking. First, we have the ontological ethic by Immanuel Kant. Kant argued that the morality of an actions is determined by principle and intentions, not its consequence. So this approach emphasizes on duty, task, on rule. In many Asian cultures, there is a deep-rooted respect for emphasizing the importance of moral duty. By embracing the ontological ethic, we can ensure that our AI technology are developed responsibly, respecting our cultural value and also societal norm. And the next, we have a utilitarianism by John Stuart Mill. This perspective flipped the script by suggesting that morality of an action is determined by its consequence. So here, the ethical choice is based on the greatest good for the greatest number of peoples. But however, it's crucial to recognize that the greatest good can differ across our Asia Pacific cultures. For instance, in some community, Collective well-being might take precedence over the individual right, while in other, individual freedom might be a paramount. So this cultural sensitivity is essential when we evaluating the implication of our generative AI technology. And by considering the both viewpoints, we can strengthen and empowering our ethical thinking. This approach helps to make decisions. And as we innovate, let's stay committed to ethical practice that respect our cultures and aim for positive impact to our society. So finally, by reflecting on Oppenheimer's roles in shaping the modern science, we must also acknowledge the ethical challenge he faced. His story reminds us that we, as a creator, we have a responsibility to improve our society through innovations and technology. And I want to remember that don't cause harm with our creation. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Mr. Ahmad Mustafid,
Yeah.
for question and for your insightful presentation. And a big thanks to everyone. Have a great day and please enjoy the next session. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.